Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your new favorite cricket fan channel called Willow and Leather. This is Shravan joining you again here today. Thought I'll do a quick preview video for the next game that RCB has coming up very soon. Mumbai Indians versus Royal Challengers Bengaluru, happening in Amchi, Mumbai, the Wankhede on the 11th of April. That's the Thursday. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to put together like a quick preview piece for the game, and just look at it more specifically from the point of view of an RCB fan, but also kind of just looking at it more holistically from Mumbai Indians point of view as well, and how the teams stack up, and what kind of changes, if any, we should be expecting to see from both these teams. Right, well, first of all, let's quickly look at where the teams stand at this point. So after 5 games, Royal Challengers Bengaluru now find themselves in a not so envious position in the table, sitting in ninth, just ahead of Delhi Capitals. And that position is a very accurate reflection of the kind of performances that the team has put together, unfortunately. And in almost a very similar situation, Mumbai Indians sitting in 8th position, just above RCB, but Mumbai Indians have played one lesser game compared to RCB. And I think Mumbai Indians will have a little bit more from a momentum standpoint going into this game, given they just won their last game against, albeit just Delhi Capitals, who are sitting in the bottom of the table. But still, a win is a win, and I think it was a very thorough performance from the Mumbai Indians overall in that last game. So I think they will definitely fancy their chances, especially playing at the Wankhede. Right, so very quickly, looking at things from the Mumbai Indians point of view, I'll get to RCB later because there's a lot to dig through, but at least very quickly from Mumbai Indians standpoint, as I was mentioning, I think a lot of things fell in place for the team, particularly with the batting. Surya Kumar Yadav coming back into the fold, which has been a big miss for the team thus far, but he makes his way back into the team, but unfortunately he couldn't get any runs. But I think he was probably the lucky charm that the team needed. Most of the other batsmen really firing in that performance. Rohit Sharma and Ishan Kishan just getting off to an absolute flyer. Both of them not able to convert their starts into massive scores, but a couple of very quick fire 40s definitely gave the team a fantastic platform. And then the likes of Tim David providing some big hits towards the end, and surprise, Romario Shepherd coming in with a 10-ball 39, taking a particular liking to Anrik Noke in that 20th over. I think it was 32 or 34 runs or something like that he picked off of that over. So unbelievable stuff. But Mumbai Indians posting a very, very healthy score of 230 plus, which is kind of indicative or reflective of their batting strength. I think they definitely have one of the most competent and well-rounded batting unit, strengthened by a very strong Indian core, and I think that's their biggest key differentiating factor as such. And with the ball as well, I think they did a fairly decent job overall. Tristan Stubbs from the Delhi Capitals obviously tried to change things around with an extremely impressive 70 plus runs from the 25 balls that he faced, but just ran out of support from the other side in the second half of the innings there. So Delhi Capitals falling short, well short of the target, but the likes of Gerald Coetzee picking up 4 wickets, I think that's an important morale booster for someone like him, and also for the rest of the bowling unit as well. Nice to see Jasprit Bumrah back at the top of the attack. Still not bowling the first over, but at least he shared the new ball with Gerald Coetzee, and he was able to do some damage and pick up a couple of wickets as well. So all in all, an overall fairly solid performance from Mumbai Indians, and I think they will look to carry that momentum and that mojo into some of these upcoming games, and I think they'll be very excited by the opportunity in front of them to be playing against a RCB team which is down at this point. Make no mistake about it, that RCB team is definitely not in the best frame of mind mentally, as well as with their performances as well, and they've been found wanting across multiple areas. So I think Mumbai Indians will definitely look at this as an opportunity to get 2 more points and build some more momentum heading into the second half of the tournament. But RCB, man, more questions than there are answers, unfortunately. And this is not the first time. I think over the last several years, we've seen this exact same situation play out. Not necessarily exact, but at least in terms of some of the decision making and the team management and the roster management. I think there have always been questions. And it's very funny because RCB seems to be one of the very few teams that year after year seem to be scrambling to find their best combination of playing 11 or 12 in this case, right up to the very last game of the tournament. And it's not something new. We've seen this in the last couple of years as well. Right until the very last game of last season, we were never really settled with our lineup, and we were running more on hopes and prayers that some of the big guns in the team would perform miracles more often than not to kind of see us over the line. But unfortunately, that wasn't enough last time around, and very similar questions kind of keep popping back up again. Just a quick recap of the last game that RCB played against Rajasthan Royals, and it was a tactical nightmare. I think it was studded with so many ridiculous and weird decisions when it comes to who was in that playing 11 and some of the tactical decisions on the field as well. It absolutely baffles my mind how a team playing at this competitive level is able to make such massive blunders when you think about it. And this is again not something that you need to be a cricket pundit to understand. Let's walk through some of the weird, questionable decisions that we saw last time around. So let's see. So from a batting standpoint, when you look at the first 4 games before the game against Rajasthan Royals, who are the batsmen that have kind of delivered more consistently than not for this batting order? Virat Kohli at the top? Yes. Who else? Dinesh Karthik? Yes. He comes in at number 6 usually, and he provides some finishing touches, and he's been very impressive with the bat and the chances that he's got. What's the third name that comes to mind? Mahipal Lomror. He's the one person who's come on as an impact player and really shown some intent and aggression, and actually the ability to be able to get some crucial runs in a crunch period of the game. Helped chase down a tricky total when the team was in deep trouble against Punjab Kings by partnering with Dinesh Karthik. Was the lone fighter in the previous game as well, scoring a quick fire 30 odd runs from 11 or 12 balls, I think it was, in the previous game that we played against Lucknow Super Giants. Yet someone like him doesn't find his place in the starting 11. That to me is very baffling. Point number 1. Instead, we play a new player, Saurav Chauhan. Again, is fairly highly rated and looks to be someone who can take the attack, especially in the middle overs, to the spinners, and provides that left-hand option again. And comes with a little bit of a reputation that he can, hit some massive shots, which is good. And I absolutely don't mind that. It probably any player making their way into the starting lineup, obviously the backroom staff has seen something in them because of which they are, pushing them into the starting 11. But not at the cost of someone like Lomror, who's been in such devastating form. And what is Lomror's MSP? His value in the team is taking on spinners with the big hits. He's a left-handed option too. Yet, we see someone like a Saurav Chauhan making his debut for the team, while Lomror still has to sit out and be ready as an impact player. Even when someone like an Anuj Rawat is not playing in the team, I would have figured Lomror just walks in instead of someone like a Saurav Chauhan, but clearly not. So that was, I think, one of the most baffling and confusing decisions for me. Next up, Vijay Kumar Vaishak, not in the 12 for the team. And again, he's been used as an impact player, an impact bowler. So I understand that he might not be a part of the starting 11, especially if you're batting first. But then when you're bowling in the second innings, how does someone like a Vaishak not make it into your playing 12? Especially on the back of some really impressive performances, not just in the last game that he played in Bengaluru, but even in the season before. He was one of the very few guys in that bowling lineup who had the ability and the guile and the courage to use variations on a pitch that is considered a graveyard for pace bowlers especially. And he's one of the rare finds from this RCB camp who seems to be doing everything that is asked of him. Yet, time and again, he doesn't get picked by the team in the starting 11. So, I still cannot wrap my head around that decision either. Who do they bring in instead of Vijay Kumar Vaishak? They bring in Himanshu Sharma, the leg spinner. Again, tactically, I can try and sympathize with Faf du Plessis or Andy Flower or whoever else is making these decisions at the top. I can understand what they're trying to do here. In the first game, we saw a leg spinner being brought in. Karan Sharma was there when we were playing away from home on a pitch that was probably more spinner friendly in Chennai. And then the next 3 games we were playing at home. So I understand that point of view and that thought process as well, that you might not necessarily need a leg spinner because, as a spinner, it's going to be very hard for you to do even reasonably well in a ground like Chinnaswamy, unless you're, of course, a legend like Yuzvendra Chahal. That's a different story. But otherwise, I understand the point that you might not want to play someone like a Karan Sharma, a leg spinner, genuine leg spinner, and would rather, provide additional cushioning in your pace bowling department. So, understood. My question is, Karan Sharma has played the first game of the season. The next 3 games we play at Chinnaswamy, so there's no leg spinner. And then this 5th game we're playing at Savai Mansingh Stadium in Jaipur. Why is Himanshu Sharma coming in instead of Karan Sharma? It just does not make any sense. Did the team not want to bring in Karan Sharma specifically for this game, or do they feel like Himanshu Sharma is a better option than Karan Sharma in the leg spin department? If they feel Himanshu Sharma is a better option, why didn't they start with him at the beginning of the season? I do not understand this logic of playing players for 1 match or 2 matches and then just changing things on a whim. Unless Himanshu Sharma was not available, unless it was like a fitness issue and he wasn't available for that first game, if they wanted to persist with Himanshu Sharma, they should have started with him in the first game. Or if you're giving Karan Sharma a go in the first game, yes, he didn't have a great outing, but who has a great outing day in day out in the IPL? You cannot keep switching out players just after 1 bad performance. Himanshu Sharma, same thing end of last season as well. The guy did not play the first 13 games of the tournament. Match number 14, playing at Chinnaswamy against Gujarat Titans, who were on a roll. The qualification is on the line and they decide to chuck out Karan Sharma, the experienced Karan Sharma, and bring in Himanshu Sharma. These kind of mind-blowing decisions just do not make sense. I cannot, I've been trying to think of it from the management point of view as well, but no matter how I try to convince myself, I cannot come up with a valid or a reasonable explanation as to how and why some of these roster changes are happening. Right? So that was point number 2. Point number 3. Sending in someone like a Cameron Green ahead of Dinesh Karthik when you're playing the last 2 or 3 overs of the match. Yes, Cameron Green is slated to bat further up the order than Dinesh Karthik, but the likes of Dinesh Karthik, Mahipal Lomror, etc. have very particular roles to play in that team and in that batting order. Now, if your top order has done reasonably well, the opening partnership lasted for about 11 overs or something, and then you lost a couple of wickets and Saurav Chauhan kind of, came in, built a few run partnership with Virat Kohli and then got out eventually as well. But at that point of time, you probably had like 3, maybe 4 overs left. Why aren't you bringing in someone like a Dinesh Karthik who's been in good touch and who knows how to play in those kinds of situations? Instead, you're sending in someone like a Cameron Green who's more of an orthodox batsman who needs who's probably not been in this kind of a situation before, where he needs to just keep attacking from ball number one. He's woefully out of form. He's up against some good bowlers in that attack. Yet you still kind of push him ahead of someone like a Dinesh Karthik, or even someone like a Mahipal Lomror, who could have been brought on as an impact player as well. Again, absolutely questionable in terms of the decision making. The one other key thing that I noticed again in terms of decision making was during our bowling against Rajasthan Royals. 5 overs down, I think we've bowled like reasonably well up to that point. We've got that early wicket of Yashasvi Jaiswal. The Pacers are doing a relatively good job at that point, up till over number 5, and you have 1 over left in the power play. Why would you not continue with one of the Pacers who's kind of shown some sense of rhythm? Yash Dayal, we've seen how effective and dangerous he can be at the top of the innings. Yeah, he's, he tends to go for a few runs here and there as well, but I think he's probably the one pace bowler who's at least troubled the batsman to some degree in this RCB bowling attack. He doesn't get the 6th over. I was like, okay, fine. Maybe they want to mix things up and, not make things too predictable for the batsman. All right. So do you want to, throw in some spin variety? Who would be your first pick to bowl as a spin option in that situation? Someone like a Glenn Maxwell, perhaps, who has been your go-to bowler in such key situations. He bowled in the power play in that previous game, extracting a little bit of extra bounce and picking up crucial wickets in the opportunities that he has had to bowl. Or you bring in someone like a Mayank Dagar just because he's a left-arm spinner and there are 2 right-hand batsmen out there. At what point did we get to the stage where every decision is made based on matchups? What thinking goes on behind the scenes where you have to rely so much on the matchups, where you just feel like a right arm orthodox spinner bowling to 2 right-handers is just not an acceptable matchup in any sort of a circumstance or any situation in the game? Can someone please explain that to me? You have someone like a Glenn Maxwell who's been on fire, if you ask me, with the ball. We'll talk about his batting later, but at least with the ball, he's been absolutely effective. He has picked up right-handers day in, day out in the early part of this IPL, and we all know the kind of performances he put in as a part of last year's ODI World Cup as well. I don't want to remind people of the key wicket that he got in that final, but again, it was a right-handed opener, if you had forgotten. Why are you, going and banking so much on the matchups that you don't realize that you need to be bowling players or bowlers that are in form? Why doesn't form count at this point of time is my question, right? And again, I do not have answers. All I have are questions. The more I was watching that game last weekend against Rajasthan, the more and more I was questioning every single decision that was being made. And I think all these are very just questions. It's not like I'm trying to find loopholes or trying to find ways to criticize the captain or the management just because we are on a losing run. These are very, very valid questions and very basic decisions which we are messing around with. And what does that tell me? It just tells me that the team is extremely confused about what their best lineup should be, which goes back to my earlier point. Season after season, match after match, we've seen this as a trend for Royal Challengers Bengaluru. We cannot figure out the right combination at least until halfway into the tournament, or sometimes even till the end of the tournament. We're still trying to, shuffle a few players and, fit a final few pieces into that jigsaw puzzle. And the other big question I have is, what else do these Indian domestic players need to do to get a consistent run of games? At the end of the day, you have the likes of Virat Kohli, who's been just in great form and absolutely fantastic century, by the way. The guy scored at a strike rate of around 155. Looks like people still have issues with his strike rate, even when he's going on par with the overall team total as well, after having batted for that long, which kind of blows my mind. Scoring at a strike rate of 154 for his century, that strike rate was the same overall strike rate as the entire team. Now, that should be enough data to tell you that someone who's been playing through the innings obviously will have a comparatively lower strike rate, or should have a comparatively lower strike rate compared to the rest of the guys, because the role of the other people as and when they're coming in is to hit those boundaries, keep that strike rate up. They might not necessarily score a 50 or 100, but even those 20s and 30s need to be quick fire runs, which is exactly what RCB seems to be missing at this point. Especially when you don't bat the likes of Dinesh Karthik and Mahipal Lomror, the only two other batsmen who've been in some sort of form, who've been in some hitting form. Those guys don't even get a chance to come out and bat. And then there are people who still criticize Virat Kohli, saying, oh yeah, his strike rate was poor, he should have upped the ante a little bit more. People just fail to realize how brittle this batting order is at this point. If Kohli decides to, take the attack and his wicket goes, I don't know, we will be struggling to hit 150 every single game at this point, looking at the way the batsmen are playing. So unless some of these other big names in that lineup start coming to the party, start getting into some sort of a form and not just, throwing away your wickets, Virat Kohli has to play a certain way. And I am not sitting here saying that it's okay for him to bat with a lower strike rate. I'm saying 150 plus strike rate is still actually very commendable when the rest of the order around him isn't doing enough. Faf du Plessis, 44 of 33 balls, was it? 133 strike rate. When you've been in a partnership for 11 overs or 12 overs or whatever that is, I would expect him to kick on and score more runs in that period as well. So his strike rate was absolutely not acceptable. Maxwell, oh man, I don't even know where to start with Maxwell. I think if there was an award for the ugliest dismissal in a game, I think out of the 14 matches that RCB play, I think Maxwell would probably win 7 of them. It is just a nightmare as a fan sitting there and knowing fully well that within the first 2 or 3 balls that he's going to play, he's just going to try and hit one across the line, expose his stumps and get bowled. And then he'll just, swing his head back as if, he's thoroughly disappointed. What else do you expect? You're not in form. You're not performing or you're not giving yourself that chance or that opportunity to play yourself in. You might be Maxwell. You might have a reputation. You might be a game changer, when you're unsung. Absolutely understood. But when you're not in rhythm or when your team is in a desperate situation, just give yourself the chance to play some decent, straight, technical cricketing shots to score maybe the first 5 or 10 runs. How hard is it to do that? Yes, he has a reputation. Yes, he has a very clear role in the team. But unless he plays with a little bit of maturity, all of that talent is just worthless. He needs to understand that he cannot just blindly slog his way back into form. He needs to understand that he needs to take up more responsibility in this lineup. No matter what his role is defined, that role he can accomplish only if he gets in touch and gets a start for his team. You cannot be, that immature at that level where you don't even give yourself the opportunity to face at least 2 different bowlers. You're just coming out there, playing the first, you'll probably be very watchful for the first or the second ball. And then as a bowling unit, for sure that the third ball, he is going to try and do something. Just give yourself the chance. As soon as Maxwell came in at that point, they were about to bring on a spinner. I think it was Ashwin, I guess. But then they asked him to go back and they brought on Andre Berger just because they had seen Maxwell struggle against raw pace in the previous game against Lucknow, against Mayank Yadav. And it worked. It's a no-brainer at this point as to how batsmen or bowlers can try and get Maxwell out. And they know that the moment Maxwell comes on at this point, the very first 2 or 3 deliveries is their best chance of getting Maxwell out. It is frustrating beyond belief how someone with that level of skill and capability can be so irresponsible with the way he approaches an innings. I understand T20 is a short format. I understand the situation, especially in this last game against Rajasthan Royals when he came into bat. His role was to accelerate. But just do yourself a favor and give yourself a few deliveries to get your eye in. That is all I'm asking. As a batsman of your caliber and stature, you can make up any sort of a strike rate if you stick around for like 25-30 balls. Just give yourself that opportunity to play the first 5 or 10 balls. And it's not like he's someone who can't score with proper cricketing shots. He has some of the best drives and cuts in this game. Yet he just refuses to, move away from his brand of cricket, which absolutely puts the team in such a tough spot anytime he, doesn't come good. I think people just really need to take a step back and look at what needs to be done. And I think there are some very serious and tough calls that need to be made for this team to be able to make any sort of progress now. But sorry, I went on a rant, but, the key point I was trying to highlight was that these domestic players just do not seem to get a long enough run with this team. We saw that with the first game. Karan Sharma played one game, sat out for the next 3 games. Again, I can understand because it was at the Chinnaswamy, they're going with a particular tactic. But again, match number 5 against Rajasthan, they decide not to play Karan Sharma, but instead bring in another leg spinner. I do not understand that. Vijay Kumar Vaishak, the guy's been pouring his heart out and delivering performance after performance, yet he can't find his way into the starting lineup. The likes of Mahipal Lomror, he's been batting his heart out. One of the, real gems and, one of the best improvements that I've seen from an RCB player season upon season. I think he's come back and he's looked very, aggressive and full of intent, which I think a lot of these players have lacked. And to not play him at Jaipur, which is his home ground, by the way, not having him in the starting lineup and giving another new player a chance when you have the best, when you have some of these batsmen who've been in form, doing their best, and still not able to make their way into this starting lineup for the team. How, as a franchise, do you expect this team to succeed in the long term when, besides Virat Kohli and these other big names in the team, nobody else can feel secure about their spot even for a run of 2 or 3 games? What kind of a culture are you building where you are telling the players that yes, excellent performance again, excellent performance for the 3rd time, but we still can't accommodate you into the team despite all the other players around you having a very poor run of games? What else do these youngsters need to do to be able to get a decent run of games? I'm not asking, the team to be able to accommodate them for like multiple games when their form is poor, etc. But even when the guys are on such a great run, in those limited opportunities that they're getting, how crazy is it for someone to expect a decent run of games even at that point at least? How are you building a franchise and what kind of a culture are you building where you do not still have enough trust and faith in your Indian domestic core, and then you still sit and wonder season after season why things are going wrong, what else can we do to change things around, or what else we can do to improve? Yes, we probably didn't have the best of auctions. I think shelling out 16 crores or whatever it was for Cameron Green was not the best idea to begin with, which kind of really handicapped us going into the auction, because of which we had to settle for some mediocre bowling options. I'll be very blunt on that. But if you're not even able to, get the best out of the roster that you have, how much are you going to blame the, auction strategy or whatever else? Yes, you are banking on guys like Maxwell, Green, Faf, du Plessis to come good. I understand that. But despite that, at least in the domestic group, make sure that there is a little bit of comfort and safety for these players who are, playing with their hearts out. I don't know. I don't have the answers, right? Nobody has the answers at this point, unfortunately. And it's very hard for us to even figure out who are the decision makers, right? Is it the captain? Is it Faf du Plessis who's making these calls on what the playing 11 should look like, or what the batting order should look like? Bowling, I can understand. Yes, he's probably the one making the calls at those crunch moments in the game as to who should be bowling which particular over. But besides that, who is making these calls? Is it the coach? Is it Andy Flower who's involved, or is it both the coach and the captain who are involved in this decision making? Someone needs to, take a little bit of responsibility for the kind of shocking decisions that we've made so far. Yes, as a team and as individuals, we have not performed to our abilities, but the things that are in our control as a unit or as a decision making group, if we are not even able to get half of those right, very, very basic things, if we are committing such huge blunders even on some of these most basic things, how do we expect to compete against some of the better teams in the league? And again, this is not something that's happened for the first time. It's not just Andy Flower. The previous management group was the same. The management group before that was the same. The captains before that were the same as well. And I'm not technically a big fan of Virat Kohli as a captain for RCB. He's made some very questionable decisions in the past as well. But, it goes back to the question as to who is held accountable or responsible for these decisions. As a layman or as just someone who watches a little bit of cricket on TV, if we are able to at least identify some of these things as glaring mistakes, how do you not see it yourself as such a big franchise? Or are you just overthinking it so much and you're just convoluting things so much with your data and your metrics and whatnot that you just cannot use some common sense in situations in the game? More questions than answers, obviously, but looking forward to the next game. I know I've been going on quite a big rant at this point. It's probably a long video already, but I just hope that the management team has a little bit of guts. They show a little bit of guts to make some hard calls at this point. I feel like the season is already done, unless there is like a miracle from someone, say Virat Kohli going on another 900 plus run, spree this season and doing a repeat of 2016. This season is pretty much done for RCB. I don't see a way how they can even try and remotely come close to the top four. People can call me a pessimist if they want to, but I'm just trying to be as realistic as possible. Because, these are not games that we have lost just by the skin of our teeth. These are games that we have lost convincingly, a lot because of our form, but even more so because of our tactics and decision making, which I don't know will change anytime soon. But if the management team has to try and turn things around, you have to make some tough calls. Does the management have enough guts to rest someone or drop someone like a Glenn Maxwell from the lineup? Yes, he's been great as a bowling option, but if the captain isn't even going to use him in a game as a bowling option, then what's the point? Might as well rest him. Bringing in someone else instead of him, at least I'm not sitting at the edge of the seat every time, someone like Maxwell comes out and, already feeling dejected because I know that in the next 3 or 4 balls he's going to get out. That's the kind of form and attitude that he's playing with. Does the management feel, gutsy enough to make that kind of a bold move? There is someone like a Will Jacks waiting in the lineup there. No guarantees that he'll do much better than, Glenn Maxwell, but he's there. He's an option, and he's done everything that he needs to in other, T20 tournaments around the world to warrant or merit a spot and a run of games in this lineup. He can bowl decent off spin as well. Yes, he's not a Maxwell, but he's an upcoming talent. He's been sitting and warming the bench since the beginning of last season, and he's just not had a chance to get a game yet. Does Faf du Plessis himself have the guts to sit out a game or two, just based on his batting form itself? He got a few runs in this last game against Rajasthan, but he still didn't look like he was in, good touch or rhythm. His captaincy decision making has been absolutely horrendous. Can he make that call to sit out and bring someone like a Will Jackson instead? Or can Will Jacks be brought in instead of someone like a Cameron Green? Can the franchise make that bold call of resting or dropping someone after 5 games, someone whom they've bought for a whopping crazy amount of money, 16 crores or whatever it was? Can the franchise make a bold decision like that and bring in someone like a Will Jacks instead of a Cameron Green, for example? We'll just have to wait and watch. Again, these are the kind of decisions that define successful teams. No single individual is above the team. You have to be able to, rest players or drop players and bring some, different people into the mix. Otherwise, it's just going to be a very toxic environment. If Maxwell keeps batting the way he is batting, who is it helping? It doesn't help anyone. And if he's not even going to be used as a bowler, then why do we need him in the playing 11? Very genuinely asking this question, why does he need to be in the playing 11? Why shouldn't we try someone else in? Cameron Green, man, the guy, the way he's been bowling full toss after full toss on the legs, game after game. I mean, to be honest, gully cricketers are usually a little bit more consistent than the way he's been bowling. With the bat, he's been all over the place as well. Again, the batting order is just not fixed, and I don't necessarily, demand a fixed batting order as such. I do understand that there needs to be a little bit of flexibility in terms of where people can come in, but to see the number of changes in the batting order, Kohli and du Plessis are fixed at the top, but beyond that, the entire order is pretty much anyone's guess at this point. With that level of inconsistency and changes being made left, right and center, how do you expect someone to settle into a team? How do you expect someone to perform consistently when they don't know where they're playing, when they don't know whether they're even playing or not? So yeah, I think the team needs to make some tough calls for this game, especially if they want to try and make put up any sort of a fight for the rest of the season. I think they need to really think hard, think long, and make some tough decisions. But yeah, I mean, if you ask me, I would probably slot in someone like a Will Jacks instead of Glenn Maxwell. I think if nothing else, at least as a message to someone like a Glenn Maxwell, that look, you're not undroppable. I understand the kind of value you bring to the team, but with that kind of a mindset and an attitude, I do not mind if he gets out the second or third ball, if it's just a lack of form and he's not able to get the ball away and he just nicks off or gives a catch in some inner field or whatever, right? All those things happen to the best of us. We've even seen someone like a Virat Kohli go through that kind of a slump a couple of years ago, right? But it was not the lack of attitude or the intent from the player. With Maxwell, it just feels like he doesn't display that mental fortitude that he seems to show very often while playing for Australia, right? It just feels like he's not gutsy enough to fight out of that situation and that lack of form by playing himself into the game. It just feels like his way of trying to get back into form is to just hit it out of the park, and when things just don't go your way, they just will continue not going your way, right? For me, at least for a couple of games, if not more, I would absolutely love to see someone like a Will Jacks coming into the batting order. Probably play him at number 3, because I don't think either Kohli or Faf would prefer batting anywhere else but at the top. So someone like a Will Jacks at 3. Then give someone like a Cameron Green a run of games at 4 maybe, or even at 3. But if Will Jacks is playing, I would like to see Will Jacks further up. But keep Green as your number 4 for 3 or 4 games continuously. We're playing at Mumbai next, so he should be very familiar with that ground. So hopefully he can make an impact there as well. But I'm slotting in Green at 4, Patidar at 5. Again, Patidar, yeah, he's not been in the great, vein of form, but still I feel like he should still get some more games, just given, the kind of quality that he has. Dinesh Karthik at 6, Mahipal Lomror at 7, Mayank Dagar at 8. Again, Dagar, I think, until that last game, had done fantastically well whenever he got the limited chances with the ball, trying to keep the scoring down and putting some pressure on the batsman. So I feel like that one over that he bowled against Joss Butler shouldn't necessarily push him out of the team. I think he has a lot to offer, both as a left arm orthodox option, and he's an absolute live wire in the field as well. So I have Mayank Dagar at 8, Vijay Kumar Vaishak at 9, Reece Topley at 10, Mohammad Siraj at 11, and Yash Dayal at 12. So that's my starting 12, or that's my list of 12. Depending on whether we are batting first or bowling first, you can pick one of these guys out and play the other players. But yeah, I'm really hoping that the team can turn things around. But things are just not going to fall in place. You can't just keep willing your way or hoping your way into a good run of games. You have to be able to make certain tough calls as a leadership unit, and I feel like Maxwell has to be rested for a couple of games. I cannot imagine any other successful franchise letting this go as easily. And again, I am not at all disappointed by his scores. I am more disappointed with his approach towards innings and the form of dismissal that he gets himself into. That to me is the more disappointing part, right? I mean, we've seen Cam Green struggle for runs, we've seen Rajat Patidar struggle for runs, but the manner in which Maxwell gets out is just becoming all too familiar and all too boring at this point. So if nothing else, get out in a different way, Maxi, please, so that at least we can feel a little bit of joy that, hey, Maxwell didn't get bowled this time around. That would be a welcome change for us, I guess. That's the desperate time and desperate situation that the team has slumped to. But yeah, definitely not looking all happy and rosy at this point for the team. Tough few games coming up ahead of us, but hopefully we can stop Mumbai's momentum and try and start building our own momentum at the Wankhede on Thursday. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. I know this must have been a fairly long video with a lot of ranting and venting out my frustration, but I'm sure as some of you as fellow RCB fans would be feeling similar as well. Please do share in the comments as to what your thoughts are on what other changes we can make as a team to try and turn things around. But thanks again for tuning in. This is Shravan with Willow and Leather. Please do take some time to like this video, share this with your friends and family. Anyone who's interested in following some IPL content, please do share it with them, and do subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already, and pass the word along about this channel. Really appreciate it if you can spread the love, and I'll be back making more videos for you guys. Until next time, cheers.